All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, we got a pretty fun one lined up, right? We got the, notice at the very top of the screen here, we got the August 2025 ban and restriction list predictions. Okay, so that's what we're going to be focusing on in today's video. This is a very hot topic in the community right now, okay? So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on it. First things first, we're going to be doing this ban and restriction list, and then after that, we're going to head over to the actual current ban list, and I'm going to tell you guys if I think any cards might get off there, because you never know, right? Whenever they do these bans and restrictions announcements or updates, who knows? Maybe a card from the past might get unbanned. We'll at least talk about it. Okay, so I'll have everything time-stamped in the general description, guys. I'll have all relevant links and stuff like that in the comment section below. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to put those down in the comment section below, or hop on the VV Theory Discord. Link will be in the channel description. All right, guys, so before we launch into this, let me go ahead and explain how things are set up here. Really basic chart. We have something, you know, at the top here. If I think it's ban-worthy, I'll put it here. In the maybe is something that, you know, it might get banned. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets banned if it's in the maybe category, but probably won't be. And then unlikely is, if I have something in the unlikely category, then I will be very surprised if it gets banned. That's kind of the logic here, right? And these are, I have 13 cards down here, 12 or 13 cards we're going to be going over. And these are the cards that I've noticed have been getting the most amount of complaints about them from what I've seen, from what I've read in the, picked up in the community. Now, if there's a card in here that I missed, if there's a card that you think should be on this list that is not on the list, by all means, please put that down in the comment section below, okay, and tell us why you think so. And one more thing I want to say, guys, this is just my opinion, so please don't take it too seriously. This is just how I feel about the current the current meta, the current state of the game. So if you disagree with something, that's fine. Please say something in the comment section below. I just ask that you please keep it respectful, okay? That's all I ask, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and hop into this. I don't have these in any particular order. We're going to start off with Charlotte Katakuri. I'm probably going to go through all of these first, guys. Like, I'll probably put them where I want them first, and then we'll talk about it as we go. Katakuri is a strong card, but I think it's very unlikely that it gets banned. I know a lot of people think this card's a little too strong, and I will say this. I think Katakuri probably should have been a leader locked card effect. So in other words, I think it should have been an 8 cost, 8,000 power blocker, just like it is currently. But I think the end of your turn effect should actually read, if your leader is Big Mom Pirates, then do the effect. And I think that would have fixed this card to a large extent and made it a little bit more balanced. It would have kind of future-proofed the card, if that makes sense. But I think it's very unlikely that Katakuri will get banned. Now, as far as Blue-Purple Luffy goes, I'm going to talk more about this towards the end. Like I said, I want to kind of get everything on the chart first, and then I can kind of talk about things based on where they are, you know, in conjunction with other cards on here. I do not think it's healthy for the game to keep Blue-Purple Luffy in the game. I know that was a little bit clumsy, but hopefully that made sense. I'm going to elaborate more on this in just a minute. 9 cost Linlin, I could see them. I would not be surprised if they ban 9 cost Linlin, but I don't think it's a good call, and I will elaborate on that in just a minute. And then, let me say it like this. This is another card that I think should have probably been leader locked if it was going to have an effect as powerful as gaining life in the purple color pool. Now, I recently did a video talking about how I would like to see Bandai mess around with pushing some effects across other colors, like, for example, Dawn Minus. I just did a video talking about how I think it'd be really cool if they introduced more Dawn Minus effects into the game, but have them in other colors, not just purple. So I don't think it's, like, completely broken that purple has access to life gain. I think that's actually fine if it's balanced properly. But I do think in the case of 9 cost Charlotte Linlin, given the fact that it's a 9 cost character and the effect is only a Dawn -1, well, guys, think about that. If you're at 9 Dawn, which you have to be at to play the character, and you go Dawn -1, next turn, you know, you go from 8 Dawn up to 10 Dawn. So there's not really a downside to play it in any deck. The only downside of playing this out on curve or with Sanji with Blue-Purple Luffy is going down to 8 or 9 Dawn. And then, you know, if you have to use a Gum Gum Giant, you get knocked down to 7 or 6 Dawn. So it kind of messes up the way that the leader works. But, you know, that's... Again, it's not really a downside for any deck other than that. So I don't think this was the best way to handle this character. Or if they were going to make it be that way, then maybe they should have locked it to a Big Mom Pirates type leader for the effect. Okay, next up is Red Rock. I think it is very unlikely that this card gets banned, and I know for all the players out there who used to use Raigo or Kingdom Come, I get it. It doesn't seem fair, but each color is supposed to have its own specific things that it can deal with versus what it probably can't deal with that other colors can deal with better, if that makes sense. I'll talk more. Actually, let me talk about that real quick so we can move on. I was hoping that with them getting rid of Rygo, they would replace it with some other similar effect, similar to Red Rock, where it was a 6-cost yellow event that could put a character, no matter what the cost was, on the top or bottom of the owner's life. That's what I wish they had done, getting rid of Rygo, but they kind of almost did that with Slam Gibson that comes out in OP12, but then they leader locked that to Supernova. I'm not sure what they want to do there, but they clearly didn't want yellow to have that kind of firepower. But they do want blue to have it, right? Because if they didn't want blue to have it, they would have gotten rid of it at the same time as Rygo. But who knows? They could have changed their mind since their last bans and restrictions update. Who knows what they're going to do? But I think it's very unlikely that Red Rock will be banned. Gum Gum Giant. So I'm not a huge fan of restrictions, but I think Gum Gum Giant could warrant a restriction. And maybe the same thing is true of Charlotte Lin Lin. Maybe just to kind of balance out Charlotte Lin Lin, which we will talk about more in a minute, because I want to take a lot of time to explain my Blue Purple Luffy ban-worthy card up there. I think that needs the most time to explain. But let me say this, guys. I think that it would be nice if Gum Gum Giant got restricted down to a 1-of. Because then it's like just this incredibly like legendary, powerful card you can use once per game if you see it. And in a deck like Blue Purple Luffy, there's a lot of searching going on, so you should be able to see at least one per game. And I think the card, a lot of people really can't stand Gum Gum Giant, but I've gotten pretty used to the card in general, and I don't think that's the main problem going on right now with how powerful purple is. Now, it might be, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We'll have to see. That's a conversation for another time. But let me just say this. I think that Gum Gum Giant is a overtuned card. I think it's slightly too powerful. However, I think they can do other things to fix the game other than just outright banning the card. Number one, I think restricting it down to a 1-of is just a great idea. So then you still have access to it across all the Purple Straw Hat leaders. But getting rid of the card entirely, I think that would miss one of the bigger problems in this game right now, which we're going to talk about a little bit later with Blue Purple Luffy. But I could see them banning the card, even though they did just print. Notice I have on here this really cool looking alt art coming out for it in PRB02. I could see them banning the card, but I also would be a little bit surprised if they chose to outright ban Gum Gum Giant after printing it in a starter deck, right? We'll have to see that. We'll have to see. Okay, next up is Sanji. I just think it's very unlikely that they ban Sanji. If I'm not mistaken, they're going to be printing a manga rare of Sanji in PRB02. So I think that alone might be enough protection to keep it from getting banned. And I honestly don't think that Sanji is the biggest problem in the meta right now, because the card has been out for quite some time, and who knows, maybe over time, if we get too many ways to set the top card of the deck with blue, maybe this card will become a problem where it's just like, okay, it's just too much value. But at that time, who knows, maybe they'll answer that problem with presenting some type of board wipe that can deal with bigger characters. But who knows? We'll have to see what they do. I would be very surprised to see 9-cost Sanji get banned. I'd be very surprised to see that. Okay, next up we have Karasu and Ivankov. I'm gonna kind of talk about them at the same time here, because this is like in response to Bello Betty doing so well in the West right now in OP11. Guys, I think this is a direct result of Blue Purple Luffy doing so well. Red Yellow Bello Betty is kind of the best answer in the entire game right now to Blue Purple Luffy. Otherwise, I don't think, how do I say this? If Blue Purple Luffy, the leader, did not exist right now, I don't think Bello Betty would be doing too much. I'm sure there'd still be the diehard Bello Betty players out there who are doing good in tournaments and whatnot, but I just don't think it would be seen as strong as it is right now. So I will say this, if anything, I don't think that if either of these cards were to get banned, Karasu or Ivankov, for whatever reason in Bandai's mind, whatever, would justify that kind of decision, I think Karasu would be the bigger target to hit than Ivankov. But who knows? Who knows? Because Karasu being able to manipulate power, I mean, guys, if you get 1 or 2 Karasus on the board, that's pretty much a wrap, right? Where it's like, wait a minute, you got a 5,000 power leader. If you drop them down to 4 or down to 3,000 power, then all of a sudden every attack is an absolute, massacre waiting to happen. So we'll have to see. But I will say this, I'm going to put both of them down here in the unlikely category. I don't think either is going to get banned, because I think Karasu is going to be very nice going forward into all these 6,000 and 7,000 power leaders, right? It looks like Bandai is taking taking the game in a direction where 7,000 power leaders, and especially like 6,000 and 7,000 power leaders, that's probably not going to be too uncommon in the future. And Karasu then gets a little bit extra value, I think, in a good way. Like it's almost like an argument in his favor, if that makes sense. So I think it's very unlikely that either of those cards get banned. Either Karasu or Ivankov, I'd be very surprised to see them get banned. But who knows, though, guys? Who knows? I will say this. One thing Bandai likes to do whenever they ban whenever Bandai wants to do some bans and restrictions, they will typically ban something from like the top 2 or 3 decks, you know, in the format at the time when they do the bans, so that things don't get too lopsided in another deck's favor. So we'll have to see. Okay, next up is Sanji and Pudding. I think this is a very unlikely ban. I think Sanji and Pudding is unlikely. I think it's a great card for the game in general for Green-Purple Luffy, and I think the card almost has to exist within Green-Purple Luffy in order for that deck to be anything. And if you end up banning this card, you might as well just ban the leader at that point, because they were kind of built for each other within the same EV02 set. So I don't think banning Sanji and Pudding is a good idea, because other decks are starting to experiment with it as well, and it doesn't seem broken at all. I think the next card we're going to talk about is actually the bigger problem within Green-Purple, and that is the stage. I think the stage needs to go. This is a card that I've been complaining about for quite some time, simply because of its interaction with Sanji and Pudding. And with other cards too, sure, but the main interaction is with Sanji and Pudding. Because Bandai has like constructed this game in such a way that, you know, if you're building your deck properly, you can usually deal with a 5-cost target for your cost-based removal. You know, think of Zeus, right? The 2-cost yellow Zeus, you take a life card and you KO a 5 or less character. Okay, I think that's good. I think Bandai's done a good job with all that, balancing the game and whatnot. However, using Marigo, buffing this to a 7-cost character. Okay, the difference between trying to hit a 5-cost character and a 7-cost character right now is a night and day difference. Who knows what will happen in the future, but currently, at the time you're recording this video, trying to hit a 5-cost versus a 7-cost, it's an astronomical difference. It's just, like I said, the difference is like night and day. And this Marigo stage, number one, it turns Green-Purple Luffy into like a 46 card deck, right? Because you play the card out and you draw a card right away, and then you can also double these up in one turn, right? If you have multiple Marigos in your hand, okay, no problem. I'll use the Marigo I have on the board to buff one of my character's costs, and then I'll play out another one on top of it to draw a card. So we're cycling through, and I'm going to buff another card for a cost. I am not a huge fan of Marigo being in the game, and I understand people want to have some kind of protection for their board, but at the same time, there has to be some way to counterplay with it, right? And it looks like what they tried to do in OP12 to counterplay with what Green-Purple Luffy was becoming is they printed Zoro, right? I mean, just everything they printed about Zoro seemed to be an answer to Purple, right? Because, okay, with Marigo, they're increasing the cost of their characters, right? Okay, well, then they printed Kuina, I think her name is, and Tashigi, which can rest based off of original power, or excuse me, original cost. And then, you know, attaching three Dawn to your leader, you get to attack into a character and then into your opponent's leader. You get these double attacks. But again, okay, if I'm not playing green, well, what's my answer to these things? So I will say this, I think Marigo needs to go. I will talk more about these again in just a minute, guys. I really want to elaborate on these two cards in particular, because I think they are the most ban-worthy cards in the game right now. Next up is Full of Lead. Or I think, I can't remember the name of it. It has a different name, I think, but on the sim it's called Full of Lead, I think. Whatever the case is, this is the stage for Blackbeard, right? This card, Hachinosa, I think that's the other name it has. Or maybe it's Hachinosa on the sim and it's Full of Lead in the actual game. I can't remember. Whatever the case is, this is in the maybe category for me. Because I will say this, Blackbeard players will not like that, of course. But Blackbeard is getting to a certain level of consistency now where I think it's becoming a little too consistent. And there used to be some downsides to playing Blackbeard where it's like, okay, Blackbeard's going to have this very powerful effect where I can turn off all of my opponents on play effects, and I also won't have them either. Okay, well, now that's pretty balanced, because if they balance it around the idea of like, okay, every card that I have, and by the way, to use Blackbeard's effect, you have to trash a card from your hand. It fills up your trash, it has synergy, that's all fine. But you're going down a card in your hand every time to turn off your opponents on play effects. But here's the thing. Okay, what happens once everything's all set in motion and Blackbeard makes it into the late game? Well, now they're searching 3 deep every single time they use their stage for free, ultimately, right? Because they're trashing one card from their hand to look 3 deeper for a better card than the card they're trashing, and that allows them to still have their full 10 Dawn turn to use with their 10 cost Blackbeard or Martial D Teach. I will say that I think it's very possible that that card needs to be banned, and I'll probably, I need to come up with an entire video talking about this. I just don't think stages are that well done for the One Piece trading card game. If Bandai bans either of these 2 stages right here, I think it'll be like the 3rd stage that's been banned, right? So let's just assume they don't ban Hachinosa or Full of Lead or whatever it's called. Say they ban Marigo. Well, guys, that would be the 3rd stage they've banned that I can think of off the top of my head. Because they've already banned Enies Lobby, and they had to ban Whitebeard stage Moby Dick. So it's like, I don't know if they have the full grasp on what they want from stages in this game. They present a little too much value over the full course of a game, right? Maybe not so much with Moby Dick. That's a little bit different. That stage is very much, that probably, hey, I mean, that could have its own video just talking about why that card is so strong. However, with these other stages, it's like, wait a minute. If you get a stage down before me, you're just at a strict advantage over me, right? Because now you're doing more searching and fixing your hand in the case of like something like Full of Lead, or in the case of Marigo, you're getting all this extra increase, right? You're increasing the cost of all your characters. So with all the cost-based removal and cost-based, interactions in the game, I don't get to do them anymore. Like you just shut off half of what my deck's trying to do now against the cost of your deck. And the same idea is true, of course, with Enies Lobby. Enies Lobby was like the inverse of Marigo, where it's like, wait a minute, if I get down Enies Lobby early on, like early enough, all of your characters are so easy for me to hit now with all my cost-based removal. So who knows, maybe that's the actual problem is cost-based removal. I've talked about that before in the past too. But let me just summarize by saying this, guys. I don't know how healthy stages are for the game in general. And I think what they should do, what they should work towards in the future, who knows, this is very wishful thinking, but I would really like for them to come up with some base level generic stages moving forward and just have them start off where you can buy them and play, right? Like, let's just say in the case of Full of Lead here, right? If that's a card they want to have in the game, well, make it where it's accessible to buy on turn 2 or 3 and it starts outside of your deck, because that's a whole nother thing is, okay, with all these stages, notice what Marigo does. It just replaces itself, right? So when you play it out, you draw a card. Okay, when you get another Marigo, you just buff your character for the turn, replace it to draw another card and buff another character. And the same idea with these cards that do searching, like with Germa Kingdom stage and also Revo Army stage or Revo Army Headquarters, whatever it's called. These cards like replace themselves so easily and they do all this fixing where it's like, okay, they had to make the stage worth running in the deck, and they also had to make the stage worth, drawing multiples over the course of the game, because those take up deck space. If the stage only has like a once per game effect and like there's no reason to have more of them, well, when you start drawing more and more of them, they're just dead cards, right? They're just dead cards. So I think they present a really big design headache, and hopefully they find a way to solve that moving forward. Okay, I think we talked long enough about stages. Moving forward, let me just finish up here with Full of Lead or Hachinosa. I think I would not be surprised if they ban that stage, but I don't know if it's warranted or not yet, because Blackbeard is not exactly running away with the meta. Okay, so I have to say that with these next 2 cards as well. First of all, I want to bring up Hody Jones. A lot of people are complaining about this card, but I think this is kind of the same logic as Karasu and Ivankov. It's like, guys, Bello Betty's doing so well right now because of a specific card that we're about to spend a lot of time talking about. Okay, that's why these cards seem so strong right now, and it's all because of Blue-Purple Luffy, right? The same thing with Hody Jones. Hody Jones is tapping down blockers in Dawn, and it's attacking in, and it's a very strong counter to Purple right now because it gets around the events, and the blockers potentially. It's a 7-cost, 8,000 power character. I actually like the way the card's balanced for the most part. I will say this though, guys. There are 2 cards in the maybe category here. Charlotte Linlin and Hody Jones, they both interact with life. And those are cards I would love to have in yellow. Bandai, if you're listening, can I get my yellow version of 9-cost Linlin and my yellow version of 7-cost Hody Jones? Guys, what's going on here? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We all know, guys. We all know that Bandai doesn't like us yellow players. I'm just kidding, guys. But no, seriously, I could see them, I don't think it's a good idea to ban Hody Jones. I don't think it's that big of an issue, especially with us getting access to Dead Man's Game coming up soon here in OP12. It does the same thing for 3 Dawn less, but it's not a character that takes a life, okay? It's not a rush character that takes life. Now, yes, that's very powerful. It's worth the extra 3 Dawn, right? But I'm just saying, I couldn't see them banning this card anytime soon. Now, some people have this argument like, well, no, they didn't reprint that card, so it's probably going to get banned. That was the same logic with Linlin. Who knows? You might be onto something with Linlin, but I don't think so with Hody Jones, because Hody Jones was already reprinted in PRB01. So yeah, this card did not get reprinted, but that's because it already was reprinted once. So I'm going to put this card under unlikely. I'll put it towards the top of unlikely, where it's like, who knows, maybe it'll get banned, but I seriously doubt it. I'd be a little surprised if they banned Hody Jones. I just don't think it warrants it with the cards coming out that are coming out. And then last but not least on here is Captain Kidd. I'm going to put this at the very bottom of unlikely. I just don't think it's a problem. I don't see this card being too powerful to deal with. I think one of the more annoying aspects of green right now, is Rosinante and the 3-cost Tashigi with the removal prevention. I think those are bigger issues in the game over Eustace Kidd. Okay. Now, let's talk about Blue Purple Luffy now. I wanted to get through all of that, guys, so that you could at least see the list up front here. And now for my Blue Purple Luffy rant. I'm about to just launch on this. So, I think Blue Purple Luffy is not good for the game. I don't think it's healthy for the game. I have been complaining about this leader for some time now. I understand and I respect people's complaints about Gum Gum Giant. It is a very strong card. I even said, I think I was saying even in this video, that I think the card is overtuned. I really do. I think this card's a little too strong. The fact that you are paying 1 and doing a Dawn -2 to trash 1 card from your hand, so you're using the event, and then you're trashing a card from hand. So you're going -2 in hand to draw 2. So you're going back even with the card, and you're getting a plus 4,000 power. Okay, if they're going to print cards of that caliber in the game, then I think those probably are better off, as a one-of. Like we were saying earlier, maybe that card needs to be restricted. Who knows? But here's the thing. I can play around Gum Gum Giant pretty easily just by swinging wider and wider and wider on the board every single turn. Now, another thing I think they could have done to balance Gum Gum Giant, one more thing about Gum Gum Giant, is I think if it was a Dawn -3, I think then it would have actually been pretty balanced. I think then it would have probably been perfectly fine for what it does. Because, guys, the difference between 1-cost Dawn -2 versus Dawn -3 is massive, because it immediately turns off Blue Purple Luffy's effect, and then I think it actually would have been kind of balanced, to be honest. But other than that, I can understand them restricting this card. Now, with Blue Purple Luffy, it is everything that this leader does that's too strong. Because, okay, I like to use this example all the time. Blue Purple Luffy, it's a 3-life, 6,000 power leader. That's all probably fine for the most part. However, it's the leader effect that brings like this entire package together. Because notice 6 of the cards on here, I think there's 13 cards altogether. 6 of the 13 cards on this list are directly related to Blue Purple Luffy, right? Blue Purple Luffy's here. 9-cost Linlin, 1-cost, Gum Gum Giant, 8-cost Katakuri, Gum Gum Red Rock, and Sanji. All 6 of those cards right there are directly related to, or they are, Blue Purple Luffy. So it's like, I don't think we should get rid of those cards because they have spaces in other leaders where they're not broken. However, when you combine all of those things together under the umbrella that Blue Purple Luffy is with that leader effect, I think that's what pushes it over the edge. Because 9-cost Linlin by itself has never really been seen as a busted card anywhere in the game, right? I don't think anyone's really complained about that card until it started getting the combination of 9-cost Sanji and the leader effect Luffy, right? Because let's not forget, guys, it doesn't just stop there. So on 10 Dawn turns, here's what ends up happening for those who are not aware. The Blue Purple Luffy player can set up turns. It's not every time. It's not going to happen every time, but because of how far, that Blue Purple Luffy searches 5 deep every single turn, it happens pretty frequently, right? And what they end up setting up is a 9-cost Sanji play where they draw, first of all, they draw 2 cards for the turn, right? They look at the top 5 cards, they draw a Straw Hat card from there, and then they're going to draw whatever the top card is they left on their deck, and then these next 3 cards are very important because they're going to set it up in a very specific way, okay? So they play out a 9-cost Sanji, which cheats out the top card of their deck, right? Which is, let's just say it's the 9-cost Linlin in this example. Then they're going to set where that second to last card there is actually a trigger, if they can help it, to get the Dawn back or whatever they might want to put there. Maybe a Gum Gum Red Rock to bottom deck a 4 or less. So what ends up happening off just the leader effect, I'm able to draw an extra card, draw whatever card I want for the turn. It doesn't matter. I can draw an extra Straw Hat card and then draw whatever card I want for the turn that my opponent doesn't know what it is. And then I'm going to make it where the next card I play is this top card of my deck now. That ends up being the 9-cost Linlin, which sets this card up as your life card. That is too much value every single time, guys. It's every single time that's too much value. So guess what happens next turn? Okay, you just went through 4 cards in that turn because of everything we said there. Now for the next turn, you still know what this card is, right? So who knows? You know, if you have to use Gum Gum Red Rock or whatever you have, or not Red Rock, Gum Gum Giant or whatever you have to use, okay, maybe you'll get this card. But even if you don't, okay, next turn, let's go through 5 more. We're going to go 5 deeper now. And remember what you just did there. You established a 9-cost body, which spit out another 9-cost body, which gained you a life, and then pushed a character off the board into your opponent's life so you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just so much, guys, and you drew 2 cards a turn. It's just a little bit too much at that level alone. So I think the correct answer is banning the leader. We have not seen that level of value since we banned Gecko Moria, right? Because Gecko Moria was something very similar as far as like the impact that a single turn had on the board, where it's like, okay, with Gecko Moria, we'll just play out an 8-cost, 9,000 power character that cheats out a blocker and cheats out a character with cost reduction, and then the blocker will cheat out a 3-cost Spandine, which will cheat out a Lucci. So we just filled all these cards up back to the bottom of our deck. We removed 2 relevant bodies from the board because of comboing it with cost reduction. And now we have a blocker. Our board's completely full and we have a 9,000 power body. And that only took 1 card from our hand. And of course, any kind of cost reduction, we had to combo with it from our hand. Maybe if you know, back when Ice Age was still in and everything, you know, we could combo that how we needed to, but that was only 1 card from our hand ultimately that we had to use. And it gave us 5 bodies and tightened up our opponent's board a little bit. We haven't seen value like that since, you know, or this is the first time we've seen value like that since, right? Since it had been banned. And remember, with Monkey D. Luffy, you're not playing any cards from hand, right? I mean, like, I guess you are, but you're drawing 2 cards a turn. So you're drawing into the Sanji a lot of times, and you're setting up the 9-cost Linlin into whatever you need. So you're just playing a single card from hand. You're getting 2 on the board. And these aren't just, you know, this isn't like the same case as Gecko Moria, where it's a 9-cost and a bunch of 4-cost and lowers. No, this is 2 9-cost characters. How are we supposed to deal with that? Not every deck has the answer to that, right? So it's just all these issues that it creates. So that's why I don't think it's smart to ban the 9-cost Linlin. It's like, okay, yeah, but what if you take out the 9-cost Linlin from the equation? Okay, no problem. They go, you know, Luffy into 9-cost Sanji into the Doflamingo package, the 8-cost Doflamingo, the 8-cost 9K that cheats out a 5-cost, I believe. Isn't that what it does? I can't remember exactly, but that whole entire package there could go into Rosinante. Now you're going 3 wide on the board, and you're getting Dawn back at the end of your turn. I just don't think that banning Linlin will be enough to stop what Blue Purple Luffy is doing. Because even if you don't want to go with the Doflamingo package, the Don Quixote package, okay, no problem. You can actually, I've even messed around with this. I have a video on this. I'll try to remember to put this down in the comment section below. You can actually build Blue Purple Luffy in other ways. Like the way we see right now is like the coolest way to build it, and maybe it is like the actual strongest way currently to build it, but I don't know if we've found the actual strongest way to build it yet. It's the strongest way we currently know how to build it is the way we see it now. However, how many people have experimented with a more aggressive version of Blue Purple Luffy that's lower to the ground with like, it's more of like, I don't want to say an aggro variant, but it's more like a mid-range package where it's like, okay, in my mid game, I'm going to go 7-cost 8K Luffy Taro into like a 5-cost whatever, right? Like maybe Sangoro, right? Or even a 4-cost 6K Zoro and do some searching and fix my hand up. And then next turn, you know, for a 9-Dawn turn, I might even start setting up plays for Sanji. Or, you know, it all depends on the situation. But what I'm trying to say is this. If you just remove Charlotte Linlin from the equation that is Blue Purple Luffy, I just don't think it does enough. It definitely slows down the current version we know about, right? But there are other versions just waiting to be unlocked. The leader, I think, is the serious issue. If you ban 9-cost Linlin, guys, you know, people are just going to build a Blue Purple Luffy list that's a little bit more mid-range and aggressive, and that might end up even being a better option in the current format, right? Because that would give you a better matchup into something like Red Yellow Bello Betty, because you're lower to the ground, you have more answers earlier on, and then you still have your late game engine of drawing 2 cards every single turn, scrying 5 deep. It's just so much, guys. It's just too much. The same thing with Katakuri. I know I'm mainly focusing on Charlotte Linlin, but I think I think this is the case, guys. I think 9-cost Linlen is getting a lot of heat right now. A lot of people are paying attention to that card because it seems like such an insane play. The one we talked about where it's like, Luffy plays out, Sanji plays out Linlen, gains a life. It's a trigger more than likely if they were able to set it, and then bounces the car off the board. That's way too strong. It's like, okay, but is that what makes the leader too strong? Is that what makes the deck too strong is the 1-card Linlen? Because they can still do everything we just said there, but imagine instead of gaining the life, we build a deck that's lower to the ground where we don't have to gain life as frequently. We could build more blockers into it and whatnot. I'm just going to say this, guys. I don't want to harp on this for too long. I don't think removing Charlotte Linlen is going to hurt Blue-Purple Luffy enough. I think Blue-Purple Luffy will just completely adapt because the leader effect is too strong. The leader effect is so strong that it can actually just adapt. And on top of that, guys, remember, this is purple. This is blue and purple as a combination. If they get rid of 9-Lin, blue and purple is still going to ramp up Dawn as fast as they can and sit on these incredible utility spells like Red Rock. And then it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Ban Gum Gum Giant and Charlotte Linlen just so that Purple Luffy doesn't have access to these things, or like Red Rock or whatever? And I think the answer is no. I think in this situation here, guys, it is just the safer bet to just fully get rid of Luffy. Marigo, I did spend a lot of time on this. I'm not going to spend much more time on Marigo. But I do think this card is not healthy for the game because it makes it where we can't interact with some of the purple Straw Hat cards that we need to be able to interact with in order to keep the game going and keep it nice and even, nice and balanced. So I won't spend too much time on Marigo. And a lot of times what Bandai will do when they do bans is they have no problem banning a stage for whatever the best deck is in the format or one of the best decks in the format. Let's just ban their stage and just call it a day. That's like what they did with Innie's Lobby. And of course, with Newgate, they banned that as well, but that's probably for different reasons. Anyway. Right, guys, that's about it. If I missed anything, like I said, please tell me down in the comment section below. Let's just please be nice, guys. Please be respectful. That's the one thing I ask down in the comment section. These are just my personal beliefs. If you disagree, I love that. Please tell me what you think down there. Just please be nice. Okay, now we got one more thing to talk about. Are any cards going to get removed from the bans and restriction list? I think the answer is no. I'm going to be honest. We're going to run through it all real quick, but let me just tell you up front here, guys. I don't think anything's getting, or how do I say this, removed from the ban and restriction list and added back to the game. I don't think so. Gecko Moria, I definitely don't think this card should be removed from the list. Jinbei, I never thought should have been on the list, to be fair. So, okay, so maybe some cards will get removed the more I think about it. I would like to see Jinbei get back into the, back into the fight. But I will say this: if they nerf Blue Purple Luffy or get rid of it, and if they bring back Jinbei, then Blue Doflamingo might become too much of a problem. But who knows? Maybe they would do that. Maybe this is like, next level thinking here. Maybe they do that to make Buggy stronger. Right, guys? That's right. The leader Buggy with that 7-cost card. That's another card I probably should have added to the list because a lot of people were complaining about that card. Let me just say this real quick. I don't necessarily think that card should be... I don't think that card should be banned. I think it's fine for keeping decks like this in check. I don't think it's the most elegantly designed card. It's a very targeted card, but at the same time, I think it's fine. Okay, next up, Ice Age. I don't think they should unban this card at all. I think cost reduction is a little too strong in this game, and I think they kind of messed up with that early on, and that panned out more and more over time. I think Ice Age and cards like it with cost reduction built in are a little bit too strong for the game. And I'm actually hoping in the future they fully get away from cost reduction and have things just be, based off whatever cost you see. Okay, Kingdom Come. I don't think they're going to unban this card, but I do hope they replace it someday with a card that's more like... I don't know if I mentioned this or not. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not. Excuse me. I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but I hope they print a yellow 6-cost event that can just put a character from the board on top of the owner's life. Or bottom life or whatever, doesn't matter. I think that'd be a better answer than this. I think the way this is printed in particular is a little bit too strong. Okay, for yellow to have, I mean. And they kind of talk about that. Guys, if you actually want to read these, you can pause and read what they're saying here because they go over their reasoning behind it. Red Purple Law, I do not think this leader should be banned. Or, excuse me, unbanned. I do not think this leader should come off the unbanned list unless they want to... maybe if they got rid of... If they changed out Black Maria for Trafalgar Law, maybe then I think it could be okay. But, guys, this leader was a menace. I don't know who all remembers or not, but this leader was an absolute nuisance. It was a menace, but I will say it was a very fun deck to play. Okay, Innie's Lobby... This is another one I wasn't sure why it was on there, but at the same time, I think it was fine. It made Lucci a little too strong, but that goes back to what I was thinking about cost reduction. Guys, if this card's bannable, I mean, cost reduction's got to be a problem, right? Cost reduction, or maybe stages have to be the real problem, or a combination of the two. Whatever the case, I don't see them unbanning this card. Sakazuki. Okay, this card needs to be unbanned, guys. I really hope they unban this leader. I would love that they unban Sakazuki. I do not think this card would be broken right now with all the cost reduction that's gone. Guys, remember, Ice Age is gone. We're about to look at Great Eruption as well, but Ice Age is gone. Great Eruption is gone. What's it called? Gecko Moria is gone. I think this leader would be completely fine in this format, and I hope they unban this card. Great Eruption, this is another one I just don't think should have been banned unless they wanted to do more to attack cost reduction. But hey, I understand now that we have cards like Tempest Kick in the format. I get it. But yeah, I'd be okay with them unbanning this card, guys. I'd be okay with them unbanning this card and just get rid of Ice Age. Or one thing I do want to mention, I've seen people talk about this before from other games. I think it's Weisschwartz or one of them other games. Who knows? Maybe it's multiple other games. They have this thing where it's like you can't have... They'll pick like 2 or 3 cards, and you have to pick whether one of them is going to be in your deck, right? That was super clumsy. Let me try to explain that better. So let's say they have a selective ban where basically, okay, you can either choose to run Innie's Lobby, Great Eruption, or Ice Age in your deck. You can't choose all 3 of them. You have to pick one, and now you can't run the other 2. I think that would kind of be okay for the game. Who knows? Maybe not with those 3 cards in particular. But if they were somehow make it where it's like, okay, you can either run Great Eruption or Tempest Kick in your deck. You can't run both. I think that would be fine. Because first of all, Tempest Kick, it has a different trigger that KOs a 3 or less, and it has the draw 1 built in, and it does -3 once you have 10 or more cards in your trash. So I think that would be fine, but you have to pick one or the other. I'd be okay if they introduce some kind of selective bans to the game for cards like this that I don't think are too strong, but I think it'd be nice to see them again. Maybe not, like I said, maybe not all of them combined together, but it'd be nice to see these cards again. But I don't think they're going to unban it though. Okay, Reject. I don't think they're going to unban this card. Like, seeing how they're printing removal now for yellow. I mean, think about it, guys. We just got a card. What is it? The Red Hawk. The yellow. It's a 1-cost 3K counter. But if you, for your main, you can pay 3 additional cost, where it costs 4 altogether, to KO a 5 or less based on the original cost. If your opponent, if you and your opponent have 5 or more life or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording. This card just KOs a 5 or less, period. Now it doesn't do original cost, to be fair, but then not only does it KO a 5 or less, but it has this extra effect here, where if your opponent has 1 life card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Right, so it's a nice way to kind of, it's kind of like an execute that yellow had, and maybe it was a little bit too strong. It might have been a little bit too strong. But I did really like this card. So, hey, if they want to unban this card, I won't be too upset as a yellow player. Hey, help yellow out. Okay, guys, if yellow can't have Rygo, where'd it go? If yellow can't have Kingdom Come or Rygo, then, okay, can you give us Reject? Come on, guys, at least give us Reject, right? Okay, then last but not least, there's 2 other cards, Kabaji and Moby Dick. I don't see them unbanning either of those 2 cards, but who knows? It would surprise me a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Especially Kabaji with how it interacts with Blue Nami, and then Moby Dick, I think was probably just... It's another example of, like, how do you balance stages in this game? I think it was just a little bit too much. All right, guys, that's it. Let me get the screen on one more time for the list. These are my thoughts. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Like I said, just please be nice down there. I'm really hoping that Bandai does something, though. Let me finish up by saying this. I really, really hope Bandai chooses to do something about this blue-purple Luffy situation. I know some people think, like, well, what are you worried about? Just play Red, Yellow, Bellow Betty. It's not just about that, guys. You have to understand that while the competitive scene is very important for this game, the tournament scene is very important, let's not forget about the local scene, right? And it's like, running into a leader like this with a completely random rogue deck, you're probably just going to get demolished, even if you're a better player than your opponent, as long as he's just, competent enough, as long as they're just competent enough to play the deck properly. They don't even have to be good at it. It's just the power level that decks like Blue Purple Luffy have are too extreme. And I would say the same thing of Green Purple Luffy. Some people might be thinking, like, yeah, well, what about Green Purple Luffy then? Honestly, guys, I wouldn't have any issues at all with Green Purple Luffy if they couldn't increase the cost of this Sanjin Pudding past 5. Because then there's a lot of ways to deal with 5-cost characters in the game, like I was saying. But a 7-cost, that's a whole nother story, guys. That's a whole nother story. Well, yeah, that's it, guys. I don't have anything more to talk about. I'm just kind of yapping, just kind of rambling at this point. Hope y'all enjoyed. Guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me get the outro page on real quick. Let me get this text box off here. There we go. So I hope y'all enjoyed, guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And guys, if you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing, or using my TCG Player affiliate link, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. If you're donating through Patreon or PayPal, or if you're a Playmat supporter, a YouTube member, part of the Discord community, whatever you're doing to help me out, and whatever you're doing to help out the community, thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I'm done. Hope y'all enjoyed. Until next time, peace.